Well, I mean, when you played Dark Souls and you heard the bells ring, it was supposed to be another player is ringing the bell. That kind of stuff was cool, and they don't want to overdo it, I think, but I think something subtle like the candles. Also, I believe you got to see it running on PC, right? At the Judges. Yeah. It looks great on PC. I can see why Edge was wondering if it was going to be a next gen game. And
PC is definitely going to be the lead platform for this game.
Yeah, I mean, they're definitely putting a lot of. They're ashamed with what happened with the port last time.
I cannot see Dark Souls 2 as it is now running exactly the same on current gen.
Some of the effects, even like lighting the bonfire, something you're going to do 100 times, it looked beautiful. Yeah, I mean, not to really like dress up the word. No, it looked really, really nice. And I
don't think I saw the PC version.
I guess you didn't. It looked really good. And then, again, during the Mirror Knight battle, like the kind of the intensity of the rain was changing.
Yeah,
the small little effects and flourishes. It looked really good. They're doing full mocap, they said.
Yeah,
for stuff.
They redid everything.
Yeah, I don't know. That seems a little weird. Yeah, there's a lot of poser. No.
Yeah, that did take me aback a little bit, because you could tell that they invented a lot of crazy animations in Dark Souls.
Yeah, especially some of the riposts where, like, you ever get your neck slit?
Yeah.
The backstabs look like they have a lot of cool variation in this one. Like with the sword, you'll like chop the neck a couple of times and then do it like a.
They look a little more fluid. Yeah. Because before it was kind of a time warp, right?
Yeah, that's actually one super small complaint I have. I feel like the backstab animations don't look quite as brutal. Because I guess they're kind of realistically mocap this time, whereas in Dark Souls, if you parry someone and you have like the crazy two-handed maul, you're just like boom, boom twice. Like it looks so savage, but here it looks kind of toned down.
I thought the ones I saw looked okay.
Yeah.
I feel like it might vary more for weapon class or something, or at least they have a few new animations from the similar weapon classes in the other game. I thought it was cool.
Really quick on level design. When they kind of revealed the gameplay for the first time, everything kind of looks a little similar, but I was pretty happy with the tiers and stuff. But I heard maybe you weren't so down with what you saw at the level. I know you like the Mirror Knight.
Scripted Souls.
Yeah, that just goes back to what I was saying about the level kind of being trimmed down into like a really linear path.
It did feel small. I'm hoping it's just for the demo.
I think it is, because if you recall the IGN demo where they showed off the fire salamanders in the bottom, like you couldn't even reach those. It was kind of sectioned away. And even when you go down into the tunnel with the torch, there's only one Ninja Turtle, when in the demo there were like 3.
Yeah, I'm still a little apprehensive about the torch. Like, I think it's cool, like how you said how the shield had a spell tied to it or a miracle tied to it. But the torch in the IGN demo, when they showed those kind of keystones, I think is what they called them.
Yeah.
I don't know.
You can buy them with Microsoft points.
I still felt like the points are going away, though. You spend them quickly. I did feel like... I don't know. I felt like Tomb of the Giants, right? When you I needed that lantern, you needed the sunlight maggot. It made it really special.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. I don't know. I mean, it is kind of a go-to thing, right? The dark room in a D&D adventure. Do you have your torches? Did you have your adventurer's kit?
Your 10-foot pole.
And obviously you're making exceptions here because it's eating up a hand. Yeah. Right? But
you can attack with a torch.
Yeah, you can set people on fire. Yeah. It's kind of shitty though. I just got smacked mostly when I was trying to do it.
I just rolled.
But I'm a little curious if they're just going to go to the well they're going to go to that too many times. Like the Tomb of the Giants felt very special.
Well, they could make special impenetrable darkness, and a normal torch won't do it. So you have to fucking go find more sunlight maggots.
Is that the thing? Is that you're eventually going to get an item that you kind of swap in? Because even before, it was the kind of the same choice. It's like, oh, I have a cool helmet I like. I guess I'll put on the sunlight maggot because I don't want to waste a hand. But if they keep going back to darkness,
to your point, I definitely feel the same way, and I'm concerned about if Dark Souls 2 might be reusing maybe too many of the same gameplay tropes that we're used to seeing, because like I said before, I think on Invisible Walls or whatever, I feel like for maybe a lot of people, Dark Souls was still kind of a fresh thing, even because
Demon Souls was platform.
It was a PS3 exclusive. It hadn't gotten nearly as popular as Dark Souls did at its utmost zenith. So I feel like, looking at Mirror Knight, we can already associate that with bosses we've fought before. That's old King Alant plus old Monk, mixed in with a little bit of Iron Golem. And then, likewise, we could say the same thing about that one part in the trailer when the dragon zombie comes to life. It's like, oh, that's kind of like Valley of the Drakes. So I am kind of concerned if maybe people are going to find a lot of the tricks on Old Hat.
Plus with the bonfires, I'm
Yeah.
afraid people are going to beat this game in the first day.
Yeah, me too. I feel like
And
people are
instead
going to
of that kind of that long ache
Oh,
where everyone
wow.
was
Yeah.
kind of
Yeah, I don't
like
know.
kind of
Yeah,
like having a
that's
fun community build up,
Yeah.
like people freaking out over the Drake sword,
Yeah,
you
yeah.
know, like that kind of that early stuff that was like, oh my god, you know, or like peeking on Japan got it a couple
Yeah.
weeks early, checking on a Japanese stream and just being surprised.
No, people
But-
are going to power the game the fuck out of this game.
But you know they are trying to make it harder, and you know I don't know how much of that AI stuff's going to happen. Mirror Knight was definitely difficult. You're kind of being thrown into it though. You don't really know your character that well.
Oh, you know what
But-
never came to fruition though? Sorry to interrupt.
Yeah, no, go ahead.
When Dark Souls was out for the first time, there was this rumor that From Software employees were going to go around and griefing everyone just so that they wouldn't
Yeah, when they dressed as
Smaug. Yeah. That never happened, and I'm sad because wouldn't that be cool if people were trying
Are
to
you sure
power-
it never happened? Was that all just
I never
myth?
heard about it.
I think it maybe was only in Japan, maybe.
Okay.
I don't know.
So yeah, like what if there were people trying to power game it and you just saw like random From Software employee like, nah, boom.
Maybe a little bit of soul taking,
That'd be awesome.
de-leveling.
Yeah.
They can bring that back
That'd
for
be
people
sick.
who only played Dark Souls. In Demon Souls, people could actually drain your levels, and a boss could as well. But you know, what I'm hoping is that they're showing the tricks they're showing. That this is kind of a secretive game, like even Dark Souls was as well. When they showed the Bell Gargoyles before, people were impressed, but we knew that was Maneater,
Maneater.
right? So maybe, hey, they're showing Old Monk because people already kind of know about Old Monk, and it's cool.
Yeah.
To a lesser extent,
Head
they showed
wrap.
that powder kegs were
Get that
back.
head wrap.
Powder kegs were like a really small part in Demon Souls.
Yeah.
And you know, there's some of that more environmental stuff. I don't know. I'm hoping that they are maybe keeping some of the really big surprises.
So you don't want it to feel too much like a greatest hits album, you know? You still want them to put some
I
experimental
think everyone
tracks
that
down in
likes
there.
these games wants to be surprised to some extent. You know, there should be some mystery, some speculation.
I'm sure they
into
know
it.
that, right?
Yeah.
It's hard to have total faith, but
And I think they're tweaking the gameplay enough that at least it's going to feel, similar but different, where people can actually appreciate it on a new level. I mean, you guys in particular, you like the old Devil May Cry games, and I always felt like my old. It doesn't make that much sense, but I always felt like Dark Souls and Demon Souls was like playing one of those games kind of in slow motion,
Yeah.
where you really have to, you have to measure eating a hit and stuff like that. My big fear is that everyone's going to go just straight offense and not worry so much about shields. And
there are a lot. Did we bring up this thing? I don't know if this was known before, but so if you use light hits and then you use a heavy hit after that, it actually takes less stamina for the heavy hit. So that seems
It's
to me like
interesting.
another way they're trying to get you to look,
Reward
you're in
offense.
offense mode now. Keep going with the combo, finish it off with a hard hit. Whereas before, there's a lot of, you have a halberd and you use that heavy hit and you're trying to range and get the
Yeah.
people at the maximum range and kind of really watch your stamina. Try not to have to block during that time.
I do feel
So I
like there's a
don't know.
more offensive slant to
Maybe
the
a bit.
gameplay because I don't know about you guys, but I feel like rolling has not nearly as many invincibility frames.
Oh, yeah, no, they
as it did.
confirmed-
I
they
got for the
confirmed
boss.
that.
I
Like,
totally
I
was
got
eating hits.
stomped so many
No.
times when I thought I had a clean roll.
That was confirmed. That
Yeah.
in the demo, that rolling has definitely been. It sounds weird to say rolling was nerfed, but it's been retweaked. Actually, to go back to something you said, did the Mirror Knight literally reflect your spell back at you?
Okay, funny story. So not only did it reflect, but it did so in a really comical way. So I had my super serious like sorcerer guy, right? And I was channeling my badass, crystal soul sphere or whatever it's called in this game. And as soon as my incantation was done and I like shot it off and this huge kind of like funnel of magic was heading towards him, he just went like this and it went bing. It like unflatteringly just bounced off his mirror, like not even with a special effect. It literally just went the opposite way with no sound effect. I was like, oh, okay.
Beta build.
Yeah, whatever.
Oh, small thing. When the guy doing the demo was talking about how the enemies are playing possum, he says if you look closely, you can see them breathe.
Oh,
and
really?
he mentioned that even the mimics in Dark Souls had a small breathing, which
Oh, really?
I don't know if that's true. I always knew to look for
the
the
chain.
inverted chain, but
Yeah.
now we got to get Mike to do another
Pop back.
pop facts in
Yeah.
Dark Souls with the mimics.
Sure.
That sounds like the Joker episode of Pulp Fiction, The Secret in Arkham Asylum.
Yeah, I can't
Everyone
believe we
go look
found that.
for
We're
it.
really,
I
know,
really good at
okay.
finding
Yeah,
secrets. But overall, I was happy. I was a little apprehensive after I saw some of the initial stuff. The CG trailer was cool, but then some of the other trailers kind of had me guessing, and then the gameplay demo I don't know. Once you get it in your hands, I was relieved, I would say.
Yeah, I think the most telling thing about the demo was that it confirmed to a lot of people that it is Dark Souls. But whether or not it's going to be better, different, or worse is, still yet to be determined. There's no way you can really tell how that game is going to turn out without a bigger sense of, all the crazy ways that it ties together in a long form experience. So.
One last thing to bring up, and I think this is another thing people were kind of pissed off about, was the life gems.
Yeah.
From your initial say, I would say they actually refilled life a lot quicker than I was thinking after you talked about them.
Yeah.
And they seem like they stack with the Estus flask as well. Like you can chug a life gem or crush a life gem and then chug an Estus flask, and you'll have the big grow and then the small.
Crush it, you put it in your flask. Yeah.
Oh, the animation's great. It's totally that fucking comic.
Card crusher.
Yeah,
They
yeah.
do that in Dark Souls too with humanity.
Yeah, with the.
Yeah, you're right. I don't know.
The rep I spoke with did say that they were looking at the frequency that they would drop at, so I don't think they're going to be as prevalent as you've seen in the demo.
I would say, like, did you guys? I super kindled that first bonfire, the one at Firelink Shrine. I think I got it up to 20 the max.
Yeah.
And sometimes if I was fighting a boss, I'd go back to Firelink Shrine and get the 20, right? Or not or like a new area and charge up, and because a new
And more.
bonfire is only going to give you
Yeah.
5 or whatever. I am curious with the life gems though.
It's going to
Because,
matter as much.
like from Demon Souls, you guys remember like going through 1-3, like going to go through 1-3 and get some nice grass,
Yeah.
and just being like having like infinite
Yeah.
grass.
Farm some salad.
Farm some salad. No, I don't know. Now that you've kind of tackled it a couple times, I know you crushed some life gems during the boss
It seems
fight.
like it's totally viable during combat. It fills up fast enough. I thought it was
It's
going to
quicker
be.
than the Estus
I thought it was
flask,
going to be
right?
like a kind of sit around and heal type thing.
Any scenario that you can think of in Dark Souls where you had time to crush a humanity while invading is, likely the same case for a life gem. It's pretty quick, and it does refill pretty fast. I wouldn't be surprised if they toned down the drop rate on those things because it's pretty potent, especially when you have Estus at your disposal as well. And it did save my ass a lot during the Mirror Knight fight. Even though I didn't beat him, I was in a protracted boss battle with that dude for 10 minutes, and I definitely exhausted all my supply.
Did you get to see the guy who did beat the Mirror Knight?
On the Facebook
Yeah,
page.
punch him in the face.
Okay.
Bastard. That
I
could have been
was just
me.
curious.
We
Did
just
it-
needed more time. I think we could have overcome him. I had him below half.
If I used a different class,
Yeah,
for
I
sure
wanted
would've
to. I wanted to roll in with Temple Knight. So I was
I'm-
using dual swordsman. Couldn't quite figure out how to do the mad DPS.
Speed is the key on that guy.
I'm curious if you bring in. Do you think with the game being smarter and knowing what you're doing, do you think if you go in there with blue phantoms, maybe it's gonna
Oh yeah, it's super
summon more? No, but do you think maybe he'll summon
Oh, it's a
even
scale?
more red phantoms? They said the game is still max
I think maybe his head
4
will
player.
pop off and it'll be a player's head and they'll just jump out of his thing like fucking Athena. Out of his,
But with max 4 players, I don't think we're gonna see 2 red phantoms at any given point.
Here's an idea. What if you get summoned into the fight and you take control of Mirror Knight?
That'd be cool as well
Dun, dun,
as a secondary thing.
Okay, there's one last thing I wanted to say, guys. For the demo, I've pretty much focused on trying to feel out the combat, but there weren't any NPCs around. We didn't get any story hints, I don't think, from the demo.
The menu was
And I
inaccessible
wonder,
as well.
the menu was
Yeah.
totally hidden, so I'm wondering what type of things will change when it comes to that in terms of, will I have fewer stats? Will there be the same stats? Will you still have the fire keepers?
Yeah.
Will you know?
I mean, just comparing the leap they made from Demons to Dark, I think the biggest change came from the weapon upgrade system, which was a little bit more transparent in terms of, how you would arrive to certain enchantments and, special transmutations. The stats, I feel, didn't change too much. They added poise.
Which you couldn't put points into. It was just
Yeah, and then there's, stability and stuff like that. Things like the roll weight thresholds were kind of followed the same logic, and
they got rid of carry burden.
yeah, so I feel like,
Just equip burden.
if I were to interpret what they did from Demons to Dark, I feel like maybe they're satisfied with how the stats work out. Maybe they'll rethink certain things like resistance, which, no one ever bothered to level up. But, yeah, I don't know. Did you feel like maybe that's something that, was probably still a little too much.
I'm just curious. I think that's one of the ways that, you know, how you interact with NPCs, which NPCs are important. If you'll still be able to accidentally kill a dude and be like, oops, I guess I could have learned pyromancy for that guy, but no, he's dead in a heap in front of me.
Yeah, I have a feeling you can still totally screw yourself over.
Yeah.
I think there, if anything, menus will just be a little more explaining, and hopefully the concession with the bonfires maybe the big sticking point, and maybe to a lesser extent life gems. But like Patrick said, if they handle it well with drop rates and stuff, you know, it can be that small edge. And the Arturius of the Abyss DLC did add, I don't know if you guys use those Elizabeth mushrooms at all, which kind of did the same thing. And the game was, you know, to be fair, was kind of lacking that kind of regen stuff, which was found in Demon Souls. So I think they are kind of bringing back some of the older things as well, trying to find that balance.
Is there something that you want to see in Dark Souls 2?
I want to be surprised, so I'm kind of afraid to even say stuff. I want to check out the archery a little bit. I wish the Covenant stuff worked a little bit better. I hope they'd still, obviously with Watch Dogs and to a lesser extent stuff like Destiny and even those racing games kind of going into this kind of online offline world. I'm hoping they still kind of push the envelope, because it's like Old Monk. I like when I was playing the Hong Kong version of Demon Souls, and it's like, guys, I think I was a boss last night.
Right,
you know,
right.
like I didn't even know anything. Like those kind of surprises are few and far between. And I hope that, you know, since they're letting everyone know about the Mirror Knights possibilities, I hope they have something. What I always wanted was you to be kind of summoned to like a side room where you could observe someone else and you'd be fucking each other over in a way that was
Like American Gladiators.
not really direct. But yeah, like, you know, you'd pull a switch to open a cage, but it would also let a bunch of bugbears or owlbears. We need more owlbears.
Yeah.
You know, I still think there's some cool ideas, and there's some simple ideas that if are implemented well can be really, really interesting to people.
For me,
It is the tip of the iceberg.
yeah, for me, I do like, just to bring up a really concrete example, I do like the idea of implementing items with discrete on-use abilities as part of your strategy. You know, like with the Talisman in Artorias of the Abyss, like warding dark magics. I think that's a cool idea. Maybe taking something like the Torch or something like the Torch and having that kind of be a part of your arsenal as well would be interesting.
Weren't you a fan of the Demon Souls Meat Cleaver, which kind of had an AoE?
Yeah, there's a bunch of weapons that have that same kind of effect though, like, you know, Moonlight Greatsword.
Yeah, but that or the shield, right? That could
Crystal Ring Shield.
Crystal Ring Shield. Yeah, I think
Makes
that's a definite way they can go. I would actually like to. You know how you said you thought that shield kind of gave a miracle. I still wouldn't mind seeing things that are almost like skill engaged. So maybe like drain your inventory, but you. This is a stupid example I keep coming up with, but you like, you know, you throw dirt in someone's eyes or something like that. I don't know, maybe for PvP or something like that. Even though I'm not quite sure how that would be reflected on the other player.
What about you, Justin? What do you want to see?
You know, one of the things I hoped they would change is just the archery. So
Yeah.
I'm glad they did it. I'm looking forward to maybe trying to play around with that, because I always felt like I was kind of cheating before, or cheesing the game by using the archery. And now I feel like maybe it's kind of a better option. So maybe you can invest a little more in that. Other than that,
That was kind of the missing piece of the pie, right? Like you had,
I felt like it. I wanted
you had
them to
melee,
change it.
you had
Yeah.
magic, and then, you know, archery was kind of good, like the last.
Not that
puzzle piece.
you couldn't use it and be successful to some extent, but it just didn't feel like it fit into the combat system as naturally as I wanted.
I felt
So
like
I'm
you
actually
could-
really happy about that.
Yeah.
You could win Demon Souls with archery, and then Dark Souls, I think
Yeah.
you could get in a hit. Like, I think they probably watched a lot of, you know, people's playthroughs. I mean, that's how I kind of felt
You could mega cheese with archery and Demon Souls.
in Demon Souls, and then it was kind
I'm
of.
looking forward to hitting another human player with an arrow, which has never happened before for me. I learned my lesson.
Oh, you
know.
should see those PvP videos where people in
The
Dark Souls.
crossbow, the Kranikin is a different.
No, not even with the Avalon, right? That's the one. That
Oh,
was
yeah,
before.
sorry.
Empires 3.
Not even that. Like some people, like in Dark Souls, they take the lock off on. They take the lock on off, and then when they fight other people, they spin really fast. They pivot in place, and then they stop exactly where the guy is and like shoot, and it hits. I'm like, what the fuck?
That's
That's
maybe
amazing.
beyond my ken.
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
afraid. I don't think I can get there.
Yeah, what I'm saying is possible, but yeah, certainly Dark Souls 2 is bringing it to a more, you know, reasonable level.
Well, I think, you know, there's a lot more to look forward to. I'm not sure how much more we're going to see. They were somewhat secretive about the game.
There's a year to go.
Yeah.
I think we'll see way more.
Yeah, 2014, only current gen and PC. Hopefully PC trainers will be quashed.
I'm not looking forward to all the hackers though.
Yeah, that can be definitely frustrating. You know, hopefully we'll do another one of these maybe after we see the next little bit of information.